Hey guys, so this is another smart home device. This is in fact one of the first ones that I ever bought. No, so as a full disclaimer, I've actually opened this. In fact, I've been using it for months already. I just found the box and brought it out and pre-packed it again. No, so this one is a smart plug from a company that I bought in Lazada called Smart Rule. Okay, so this is a smart plug. Let's take a look around the box. So of course it's Tuya again. So of course it works with Amazon Alexa and the like. So you can see here. So this one, the model that I got is actually the 10 amps one. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I kind of want to explain amperes. So when you buy smart plugs, the price goes up the higher the rated current it's able to do. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's pop this. Let's pop this open. It's pretty much straightforward. You've got your manual and then you've got your device. Okay, so let's put that aside. So it is basically for the Philippines. So you've got your 220 um, adapter. It does come with a grounding port as well. And by the way, this one is a Wi-Fi version. And once again, just like any other smart home, it only works on 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, so you've got the power connector. So this one, according to the spec sheet, it is in diameter. So from here to here, it is 2.12 inches or 53 millimeters. And then in terms of its dimension from here to here, okay, it's at about 1.13 inches and 28 millimeters. Now from here to here, from its longest point, it's 1.97 inches, so roughly about 2 inches, no? And about 50 millimeters. Okay, so in terms of function, okay, let me explain first. There are actually multiple versions of this device. Okay, there is so the one I have over here is the 10 amps. I got it for about 273 pesos. That's roughly about 5.4 US dollars. They have a 16 amp version, which is 333 pesos or about 6.6 US dollars. And they have a 20 amp version, which is 392 pesos or roughly about $7.8, right? So all of them have a timing function and a countdown function, and of course you can connect it to the smart app. The only difference with the 20 amp version is that it has a power monitor and an overcharge, right? So the power monitor, I'm kind of curious how accurate that is. So I'll probably I'll purchase the 20 amp, so at least we can review it, and then we'll see like how accurate that is as well, no? So on to the next item that I wanted to talk to you about. Since there are different amps, so what are you going to use it for, right? So quite frankly, like I guess we'll get a little professory here, no? So when you compute for power, right? That's actually power is equal to voltage times ampere, right? So if you have a device and you know the ampere that it draws, and you multiply that by the voltage. Here in the Philippines, it's always 220 most of the time, right? So you'll get the total wattage for this, no? So basically For the 10 amps, you multiply that by 220, that comes out to 2200 watts, right? And then you have the 16 amps that will cover you for about 3520 watts, right? So as much as possible, you want the devices that you're going to be using this with to be within that wattage range. So say for instance, a 1 horsepower aircon, that's about mga 800 watts siguro. 1.5 horsepower aircon, that's about 1200 watts. So technically this can still cover it, but once you go into the higher ampere ones, I would strongly suggest you get the 16 amps or the 20 amp one, right? Like a water heater, for instance, that's usually about 4000 watts. So I would never use this here. What will happen is this will heat up, it will melt, it may even cause a fire maybe, no? So as much as possible, that's why they have multiple versions of this, and you really want to make sure that the wattage is within this. So aside from wattage, you can also compare the amps. So say for instance this is 10 amps, you can check your device how many amps it draws. As long as it's less than this, you should be fine, right? So try to match that. Either the watts needs to be less or the amps needs to be less. The voltage here naman in the Philippines is almost all the same, right? So this one would be like your you can use this for lamps, lights, chargers, electric fans. Walang problema, no? This 10 amp one. Okay? So that's about it for the unboxing. So let's get this connected. Alright, so we're gonna do the connection now. So please note I do have an adapter here because it does have a ground. So of course, it just won't plug in into a normal socket. So you do need a ground port. You can't take this out. I wouldn't recommend it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna be using an adapter. So let's plug this in. It says that you're supposed to hold it down for 6 seconds, or it should just automatically start blinking blue. Alright, it's not blinking blue. So let's hold this down for 6 seconds. So let's try that again. Okay, so I guess you're supposed to wait for it to power up, and then there, if it's fast blinking, it's either gonna auto detect or we're gonna have to add this manually. Okay, so just click the plus. Oh, there you go. So it's been detected. Go to add, and what's supposed to happen here is that so it's going to ask for your connection details. So of course, once again, this one particularly uses 3.4 gigahertz like most of them. So just make sure that it's connecting to you're entering the Wi-Fi details of the 2.4 gigahertz one that you have, and not a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Okay, so enter the details and then the password. So I already have mine inputted, and then there you go. So let's just wait for this to install. All right, there you go. Let's click next. So here it's actually already labeled nightlight because I've actually been using this. I've been using this for the nightlight for my children. So you just have to click done. Okay, and then from here, you can click on and off. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna connect the actual nightlight, just so at least you can see it working, no? One thing to note though, I hope you can hear this. It does make a sound when it turns on and off. So this is when you turn it off and then on. So there's a slight clicking sound. So let's talk about like the functions a little bit right now, and then we'll go through some use cases later. Okay. So you can also just click this button to turn it on and off as well. Okay. So you do have a couple of settings here, right? First of all, you can get device information and all of these stuff over here. When you click, so this one has been updated already, so you can rename it there as well. What I do want to go through is, let's start with the settings and then we'll dial back to the timer. Okay, so in the settings you can see the switch log, so you can see when it's been turned on and off, okay, for each date. Okay, this relay status, what this means is when you actually unplug this, that's what it's going to that's the status it's going to be in. Okay, so say for instance, right now it says remember last status. Let's unplug this. So right now you can see that the night light is on. You just can't see it that well because my light's a bit bright. So let's unplug this, and then when it gets plugged again, see, the night light turned on. Okay, now if we make this, say for instance we change the relay status and we make it off, so every time this is unplugged now, even though it's on right now, I unplug it, and then if we replug it, what's gonna happen is, see, it's back on, but it's going to remain off. So see, might be helpful with brownouts and all of these stuffs. And then of course if you set the relay to on, if the power goes out or if this is unplugged, it will be turn on anything that's plugged into it. So me particularly, I like to leave it as remember last status. The light mode, so this one's very interesting because it doesn't really change for this one. So when the power is on, it's like a purple hue. When it's off, it's blue. Okay, by the way, this light isn't that strong, so it's perfectly fine inside the bedroom, even when you're sleeping, no? So let's turn that back on. This child lock's very useful. So if you don't want anyone to be able to manually turn this on and off, see, it's not turning on and off. Okay, unless you, let's turn that back on now, unless you hit it 4 times in a row. Okay, so here it doesn't turn on, but if we hit it 4, see, it switches the child lock off. Okay, all right, now let's switch that back on, no? So here we do have options for timers. You can have a countdown, right? So after 1 minute, what's gonna happen is it's going to, whatever the state is, it's going to do the opposite state. Okay, so if it's in a on state right now, after the timer is done, it's going to turn into an off state. Okay, and then you have a schedule. So particularly for me, like since this is a night light, I do set this on a schedule. I actually use this for a aquarium as well, which I'll show you as well later. And then you can also do what's called a circulate. So if you add a circulate, what's going to happen is you can set the light to turn on at a start time, end time with a specific date, and then for a specific duration. So you saw it turned off. And then this one's very useful, the random. So this one is useful for when you're out of town, right? And you don't want burglars to think like, oh, walang tao sa bahay nyo, right? So this one is very useful. So you can set a start time and an end time for that one. And then inching, okay, inching is every time it turns on, and then say you set this for, let's set an inching period, okay? So if we set it for on, it turns off after 2 seconds, see? So that's what inching is, okay? And then astronomical, this one's very interesting, right? So since Smart Tuya, the Smart Life app knows when where your location is, you can actually set the, so say here, so you can set it 1 minute before sunrise, or on actual sunrise, or maybe 1 minute after sunrise, okay? Or you can make it during sunset as well. So before, on the actual sunset, and then after, okay? So very, very useful. All right. Right, so I kind of want to show you the first ever use case that I used it for. So this one is actually the main reason why I bought a light. So let's turn this on. There you go. So I do have a couple of other hobbies. This is one of my aquariums, and this does have a manual light. So most of my other aquariums have like an automated light, and basically what I do here is, so we did talk about timers a while ago. So here in the schedule, I set this to turn on at 10 a.m. every day and then switch off at 7 p.m. every day, so I don't have to worry about turning this aquarium light on and off. Okay, so I just wanted to share this with you guys. There's my tetras and some shrimp. Okay, I haven't really trimmed this aquarium yet for this week, so alright, so say goodnight to the fishies. Alright, so I'm gonna show you guys how to set that use case. So like I mentioned, this is the nightlight for my kids. We're gonna go through that right now. Super simple. So my kids usually go to sleep at, supposed to be at 9 p.m., right? But you know, as parents, that's a bit hard, no? So however, you know, I do still set it off at I set this nightlight to turn on at 9 p.m. So basically, like I showed you, you just select all the days that you want this to turn on. You set the mode as on, okay, and then you set the time that you want this to turn on. So say for instance, you just want it on weekdays, you just deselect the Saturday, Sunday, but for me, I make it all the days. So what's gonna come out is at 9 p.m. every day, it switches on, okay? Now, I do want this to automatically switch off because my children always forget to turn off the nightlight, right? Because rushing off to school and everything. So what I do is, rather than making an off here, I actually use the astrological one, right? So try to make it a little smarter. So of course, you know, you want it to turn off when the sun rises. So, and what I do is I set it 1 hour after, diba? Kasi medyo madilim pa sometimes at sunrise. So I make it 1 hour after, and then of course once again we set it for every day, and then the state here would be off. Okay, so that's it, very simple. So every day it turns on at 9 p.m. and then it also turns off 1 hour after the sun sets. Okay, so I did want to share with you guys like a couple of other use cases. You can also use this when charging your phone. So say for instance, if you want to charge your phone, you don't want it to be on the whole night. Okay, so what you can do is you can actually set a countdown timer. So you can set it for like say your phone charges within an hour. I would make it 2 hours, and then you would just click start. Okay, that's one use case. The night light that we discussed, also very useful. You can also connect this to like a radio as well. So if you want to automatically turn on your radio, you just have to hit the switch, and then the radio turns on, right? Or you can make that radio like an alarm clock. So once again, you can just set a schedule there. So if you want it to be waking you up at 6 a.m., so you'll be woken up by that radio. So the other one is I actually also use this. So I do have a couple of these switches around. I do connect it to my Wi-Fi router and my modem, and I have it turned off at like 4 in the morning, and it turns back on 5 minutes later to basically flash the modem and the router, to reset it para medyo bumilis. Okay, you can also connect this to say a coffee maker. So automatically once you wake up, say your coffee maker isn't that smart, right? So you use this to make it smart. So you can make it that the coffee maker turns on, or the water heater turns on at a specific time. So by the time pagkaligo mo, paglabas mo, okay ka na, right? Another is also, like I mentioned, to deter burglars. So that one would be in the randomizer. So you can set it that, okay, I'm gonna be out this Saturday. I want my lights to start randomizing at that specific time period. Okay, and then it ends at say 1 in the morning, no? Para isipin ng mga tao gising ka pa. Okay? The next one is Christmas decors. Okay, so medyo malapit na ang Pasko. So once again, you can set a schedule for it. Say for instance, it would turn on maybe 2 hours after the sun sets, di ba? Para pag madilim na, and then you can make it turn off at say 12 midnight, no? Or maybe earlier para hindi mapikon yung mga neighbors mo. Okay? Another one is, so this one's very interesting. So say for instance, you can connect this to the TV, right? So in your children's rooms. So you can give them a schedule, no? So ibig sabihin that, and then of course you would also, either it's hard to reach also, or you can turn out the child lock as well. And then you can set a timer for it na, okay, pagdating ng, say, like I said, my kids sleep at 9. Pagdating ng 8 p.m., okay, no more TV na. You guys have to get ready for bed. So you can set a schedule for it as well. You can also set this to, say, sprinklers sa garden natin as well. And then, my last one is the main reason why I bought this, or para sa aquarium lights, diba? Or sa mga terrarium natin. Okay? So I sure hope that I was able to explain this properly, and sana natulungan kayo. Napakamura nitong gadget, right? It's like 270 pesos, and then pag naka Lazada sale pa yan or Shopee sale, it's quite cheap. I'll leave the link down in the bottom. Okay, so I sure hope natulungan ko kayo. And once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, just so that if you want to learn more on the tech and home automation on the devices that I've been showing without breaking the bank, ding that bell. Okay? Salamat guys.